The evening air carried the scent of jasmine through the glass doors of Bellacourt, the city's most prestigious restaurant. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over white tablecloths, and the soft clink of silver against porcelain created a symphony of refined dining. But tonight, none of that elegance could mask what was about to unfold. Isabella Martinez adjusted her daughter's collar one last time before they stepped inside. At 16, Sophia had grown into a poised young woman, her dark hair pulled back in an elegant bun, wearing the navy dress they'd chosen together for this special occasion. "Remember what I told you about confidence?" Isabella whispered as they approached the host stand. Sophia nodded, though her eyes betrayed a hint of nervousness. This wasn't just dinner, it was a celebration of her acceptance to the prestigious Culinary Institute, following in her mother's footsteps toward a career in the food industry. The maitre d', a thin man named Vincent with perfectly styled silver hair, looked up from his reservation book. His eyes swept over them once, then returned to his ledger without acknowledgement. Isabella cleared her throat gently. "Good evening. Reservation for Martinez, 7:30. Vincent's finger traced down the page slowly, deliberately. "Martinez," he repeated, as if the name left a bitter taste. "I don't see anything under that name." "I made it 3 days ago," Isabella replied, her voice steady but firm. "I spoke with someone named Caroline. Caroline isn't here tonight." Vincent's tone suggested this somehow invalidated the entire conversation. "And I'm looking at a completely booked evening." Sophia shifted slightly, sensing the tension building in the air around them. A well-dressed couple approached behind them, a man in an expensive suit and a woman dripping in diamonds. Vincent's demeanor transformed instantly. "Mr. and Mrs. Wellington. Right this way, your usual table is ready." The couple brushed past Isabella and Sophia without so much as a glance. Vincent personally escorted them to a prime table by the window, pulling out chairs and summoning a server with practiced efficiency. Isabella watched this display with growing clarity about what was happening. When Vincent returned, she tried once more. "Perhaps you could check again? Or call Caroline to verify?" Vincent sighed dramatically. "Look, this is a very exclusive establishment. We cater to a particular clientele. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable somewhere, more suited to your background." The words hit Sophia like a physical blow. Her shoulders tensed, and Isabella saw her daughter's confidence crumble in real time. The teenager who had been so excited about celebrating her achievement now looked small and uncertain. "What exactly do you mean by that?" Isabella asked, her voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. "I think you know what I mean." Vincent's smile was cold and practiced. "We maintain certain standards here." Isabella felt her daughter's hand slip into hers, seeking comfort and reassurance. But before she could respond, Vincent had already summoned the restaurant's security guard, a large man who approached with obvious reluctance. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," Vincent announced loudly enough for nearby diners to turn and stare. "You're disturbing our other guests." The walk to the door felt endless. Isabella kept her head high, her arm around Sophia's shoulders, but she could feel her daughter shrinking with every step. The whispers and stares from other patrons felt like needles. Once outside, Sophia finally broke. "Mom, I'm so sorry. Maybe I should have dressed differently, or stop." Isabella's voice was gentle but firm. "You have nothing to apologize for." "Nothing." But the damage was done. Isabella could see it in her daughter's eyes. That spark of excitement about her future had dimmed, replaced by doubt and shame that had nothing to do with her abilities or achievements. That night, Isabella sat in her home office, staring at a framed photo of herself accepting a James Beard Award 5 years earlier. Below it sat stacks of business plans, financial reports, and contracts, all bearing the logo of Estrella Restaurant Group, the empire she had built from nothing. 3 days later, Isabella returned to Bellacourt. This time, she wasn't alone. Marcus Chen, her attorney, walked beside her, along with Elena Rodriguez, her business partner and the CFO of Estrella Restaurant Group. Vincent looked up from his station with obvious irritation. "I thought I made it clear the other night that, Mr. Vincent," Marcus interrupted, placing a leather portfolio on the host stand. "I'm Marcus Chen, representing Ms. Martinez. We need to discuss your establishment's lease agreement." Vincent's expression shifted from annoyance to confusion. "I'm sorry, what?" Elena opened her own folder. Bellacourt Restaurant operates under a lease agreement with Estrella Properties, which is a subsidiary of Estrella Restaurant Group. That agreement comes up for renewal next month. Isabella stepped forward, her voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority. "The other night, you made it clear that my daughter and I weren't welcome in your establishment. You suggested we weren't suitable for your particular clientele." Vincent's face had gone pale. There must be some misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Isabella continued. "You discriminated against a 16-year-old girl celebrating her acceptance to culinary school. You made assumptions about who we were based on how we looked. And now you're going to learn exactly who we are. Marcus removed a document from his portfolio. This is formal notice that Estrella Restaurant Group will not be renewing Bellacourt's lease. You have 60 days. But you can't just. Vincent stammered. We can, Elena said matter-of-factly. We own the building. We've owned it for 3 years. And we've decided to take this location in a different direction. Isabella watched Vincent's world crumble with the same detached calm she'd maintained while being escorted out 3 nights earlier. The irony, Mr. Vincent, is that my daughter was so excited to eat at this restaurant because she'd heard it was the best in the city. She wanted to experience excellence in hospitality before starting her culinary journey. Vincent looked desperately between the 3 of them. Ms. Martinez, surely we can work something out. This was just a miscommunication. It wasn't a miscommunication, Isabella replied. It was a choice. You chose to judge my daughter before you knew anything about her. You chose to assume we didn't belong. Now I'm choosing to ensure this never happens to another family. 2 months later, construction crews were gutting the space that had housed Bellacourt for 15 years. Isabella stood with Sophia in the empty shell, both wearing hard hats as they reviewed architectural plans. So this wall comes down, the contractor explained, opening up the main dining room. And you wanted the open kitchen concept here? Isabella nodded, but her attention was on her daughter, who was studying the plans with intense focus. What do you think, Mija? Sophia traced her finger along the blueprints. I love the open kitchen idea. It makes cooking collaborative instead of hidden away. And this community table in the center, it's perfect for bringing people together. That was your idea, Isabella reminded her. The new restaurant, Luna's Table, would be everything Bellacourt wasn't. Where Bellacourt had exclusivity, Luna's would have accessibility. Where Bellacourt had rigid formality, Luna's would offer warm hospitality. The menu would celebrate the diverse flavors of their community, and the staff would reflect that same diversity. Most importantly, Isabella had insisted on a scholarship program. Every year, Luna's Table would sponsor 5 local students pursuing culinary careers, providing them with both financial support and mentorship opportunities. The grand opening drew crowds that stretched around the block. Local food critics mixed with neighborhood families. City council members shared tables with culinary students. The diversity Isabella had envisioned was on full display. During her opening speech, Isabella kept her remarks brief. Food has the power to bring people together, she said to the gathered crowd. It crosses every boundary, cultural, economic, social. Tonight, we're not just opening a restaurant. We're opening our doors to everyone who believes that excellence in hospitality means treating every guest with dignity and respect. Sophia stood beside her mother, no longer the uncertain teenager from 2 months earlier. The experience at Bellacourt had wounded her, but watching her mother transform that hurt into positive action had taught her something valuable about resilience and justice. As the evening progressed, Isabella noticed Vincent standing across the street, watching the celebration through the windows. He looked older, diminished. Word had gotten around the restaurant industry about why Bellacourt had closed. His reputation had followed him to every job interview since, but Isabella felt no satisfaction in his downfall. Her focus was entirely on the families laughing around the community table, the young culinary students interviewing for positions, and the neighborhood children pressing their faces against the windows to watch the chef's work in the open kitchen. 3 hours into the opening, Isabella found Sophia in the kitchen, talking animatedly with the head chef about flavor profiles and technique. Her daughter's passion had returned, stronger than before. How do you feel? Isabella asked when they had a quiet moment together. Sophia considered the question seriously. I feel like I understand something now that I didn't before. About why representation matters. About why we can't just succeed for ourselves, we have to make space for others too. Isabella smiled, seeing glimpses of the leader her daughter was becoming. What's your next idea? I've been thinking about a mobile kitchen program, Sophia said, her eyes bright with possibility. Something that could bring quality food and culinary education to underserved communities. Like Luna's Table, but on wheels. Write up a proposal, Isabella said. Let's see what we can do. 6 months later, Luna's Table had earned its first James Beard nomination. The scholarship program had expanded to support 10 students annually. And Sophia's mobile kitchen had become a reality, serving communities throughout the metropolitan area. Isabella often walked through the dining room during evening service, watching families celebrate milestones, business deals get negotiated over shared meals, and first dates unfold over carefully crafted dishes. This was what hospitality was supposed to look like: inclusive, warm, and focused on creating positive experiences for everyone who walked through the doors. The lesson she'd tried to teach Sophia that terrible night at Bellacourt had evolved into something larger. That dignity isn't something you can buy or earn through status. It's something every person deserves, and creating spaces where that dignity is honored was perhaps the most important recipe she could ever master. As she watched her daughter work alongside the kitchen staff, teaching a group of culinary students the proper way to prepare mole, Isabella realized that the humiliation at Bellecourt had ultimately become the catalyst for something beautiful. Not just Luna's table, but the knowledge that they had built something that would outlast any one moment of prejudice or discrimination. Sometimes the most important ingredients in success aren't found in any cookbook, they're forged in the fire of injustice and shaped by the determination to create something better for the next generation.